don't know how to really even talk about what I want to talk about and fit it into this, like, well, I really don't want to make a 10-minute video on TikTok, but I want to keep this under a 5 minute at the very least. But I don't know how to talk about what I want to talk about, and it's just that just because you have power in the society doesn't mean that you have spiritual power. And just because you know your spiritual power, it's not equivalent to you actually knowing real spiritual power. The reason why I'm saying this is I think that when you reach a certain level of authority and influence and power in the society, it blinds you in a lot of ways. And I personally know a lot of powerful people, influential people in the society, some of them being my clients, and I obviously recognize that these are powerful people. And the reason why they're even at a certain level in society is because they have awakened to their power and they have learned how to play the game in the society, and that is why they're able to achieve that. And by the way, for those who say, well, I feel like everybody who's like that is evil, every rich person is evil, that's not true either. There are people who didn't take the route of being evil to become successful and become influential. So I do want to actually cross out your stereotype that you have about wealthy people. But I have noticed that a lot of these people who know and who have figured out a way to make it in the society and build some stability for themselves, they know they're powerful, but there's this desire to be seen and understood, especially the good-hearted people. Like, I think it's maybe harder for people who have a heart because they still feel these things and they still care. They still want to be seen. So there's this emotional aspect of their psyche where they want the validation, they want the support. Maybe they don't even care too much about all this wealth they have amassed. Maybe they just want to keep it cool. And also maybe they see things too much. Like, they see through people, how conniving people are, how evil, how dirty people play when it comes to money. So these are people who have accomplished, but also who also see too much. So there is this constant conflicting feelings of, well, I have influence, I have power, and I have tapped into my power, and that is why I was able to make success out of it. But also at the same time, I feel a little weird in this position because I don't relate to any of these people who really make it all about like power play and money play and ego games. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because today I was having a conversation with this person, and this person and I have good rapport. We have known each other for a few years. We're not really friends or anything, but this is like we have good rapport. We don't know each other too much, but we know each other enough to understand each other's energy, and he knows what I do, and it's a male. And I mentioned that because also because we live in a patriarchal society, and I think males perhaps see this too, but males also have power, like some of these males are tapped into their spiritual power, and this person is one of them. But going back to the point that I was making earlier, is that just because you know the power of yourself and power of your heart, it doesn't really mean that you are connected to like the actual power of spirit itself. Because if you truly were connected to power, you will be freed from that desire to be seen. You see, the reason why this person was expressing despair to me, and I picked up on this because they weren't telling me like, oh, I'm going through this. Like, they weren't saying it in like a pitiful way, but I pick up on the subliminal messages. I pick up on subtext. I don't listen to you just for what you're telling me. I look into that core. I look at the raw material of what you're talking to me about. So it was very obvious that this person, they were revealing to me like they were also powerful. I mean, this person knows what I do in my work, and this person respects what I do in my work, and they recognize my power. Although I'm a woman, which, by the way, like, just a side note, I think powerful people recognize other powerful people. Doesn't mean that you actually understand each other and fully have an idea of what the person does, but I believe that powerful people recognize other powerful people, period. Okay? Now, what you're going to do with that acknowledgement and knowledge is a whole different story, but that's not what we're talking about in this video. So when this person was kind of expressing to me about how, they're not really about this ego games that they're often surrounded by, because, this person goes to a lot of these like conferences and, like they're surrounded by like a lot of people in the industry frequently. And obviously, when you're in it, you have to play the game. And so they were implying that it is just, they don't resonate with a lot of what happens. And in the same token, they kept trying to, emphasize on their power to me, which I found very interesting. And I think this is where we have like the simultaneous conflict, like I already mentioned, that you are still and that is coming from ego, you know, that is speaking from ego, because that is you holding on to this illusion of like needing to be validated for your power, and which is that is why you're constantly speaking on it. I didn't ask, I didn't, because from the whole time, like I respect this person a lot, I recognize them, and I have great reverence for the work that I do, and you know, I recognize their energy, and you know, so I never even questioned anything about their power and their presence and the impact they're making. Like, I really never questioned this. Like, the whole reason why also that we have rapport is because obviously, like, I respect you. Like, I don't really build rapport with people that I don't respect, you know, especially long term, you know. So anyways, I didn't say this to this person, but the fact that they kept talking about, okay, well, I'm powerful, and I kept reminding them, hey, like, it doesn't matter that, you know, like, don't let it get to you, like all these people trying to subliminally bring you down, and all these ego games, and who's got the most money, who's got the most clients, who's the most successful. Don't let it get to you, because that really, like, they're playing the ego games. So they were kind of separating themselves from those ego games, but not realizing, like, they were blinded to the fact that they were speaking from their ego to me, because they kept talking about their power. Because here's the thing, a true powerful person who's truly like in tune and centered in their power, okay, not standing on their power and wanting to be recognized, but people who are like aligned with their power, like who's centered in their power, who's operating from their power from within. We don't go around and like talk about our power all the time. Like, we're not like, oh my god, like, I'm powerful, like, unless we're doing affirmations with ourselves, like that's different. But we're talking about like needing to be known, like having to tell people, hey, we're powerful, like, see me, recognize me. Because why? Powerful people recognize other powerful people. Gifted people recognize other gifted people. Like, these are like, it's a universal language. Like, there is no need to speak the word. It is just there. We just know, right? So the fact that this person just kept talking about these things, and on top of the fact that why I mentioned to them, hey, I mean, and this is the same reason why, like, you know, this is the same topic that I help my clients with. So if you ever want to have an actual conversation where I can actually, you know, help you in some ways, because this is what I do. Like, I help people scale their life, and you could be a successful person, you could be a CEO, business person, whatever, like whatever your industry is, whatever your responsibilities are, this is exactly like what I help people with. And people who think that they have reached the top, obviously you haven't, because you have all these epiphanies and you have all these revelations you're dealing with, and you don't know how to deal with them. So this is where I help. And this person was like resistant. They were like, you know, I'm powerful too, like, I'm just like you, not realizing you're not like me, you know. Like, I'm not here, I'm not confused as to what's going on. I mean, I totally understand the sentiment of, you know, like, knowing how people play and then finding that very dirty, but also the need to, you know, speak on your power constantly. That says that you are still dealing with your inferiority complex. You know, you're trying to convince yourself when you don't have to convince yourself, because it is true. You're trying to convince yourself that you are so powerful, you know. I think, like, I hope I'm making sense. And this is such a complex topic, but I hope making sense. I don't know what the point of this video is. I think I'm just trying to say, like, several things I want to say. Like, when you're in this society, you really have to play the game in order to really like make it to a certain level. But also, if you have a heart, if you have empathy, if you really feel things and care about people, you know, even if you're powerful, even if you have a gift, even if you have the ability to see through people, you know, you might, like, you know, that's, call it a gift or whatever, that might make it more difficult to, you know, enjoy the success that you have, because you see how fake everybody is, you know. So I think that I would say, though, if you don't transform that into like freedom, you are at the end of the day still a prisoner of your own ego, because you're not working with your inferiority complex. So just know that wherever you're in your life, there's probably something that you still have to look at. If you don't